So the reason why I'm kind of connected to baobab is because like I was saying earlier, the nutrition of the fruit that it has, which is a superfood. It's been said that baobab is the queen of all the superfoods. It's just the superfood you want to be using on a daily basis on your diet, pretty much.
Hola y bienvenidos. Welcome to Mole Mama Cooking with Love. You're about to join us for our weekly adventure where we chat with entrepreneurs, chefs, food bloggers, and more who are helping us to connect, be inspired, and learn. And we're spreading love one bite at a time, or given who today's guest is, maybe one sip of juice at a time. So let me tell you who is here with us. I'm so excited. We have Teranga's Nafy is here. She is the founder. She's a native of Senegal, and she moved to California to attend school at the University of San Francisco. And after she earned her degrees in business, she worked in Silicon Valley for startup companies as a marketing director. And now she has her own juice company, food company, and we're going to learn more about that in a minute. Her favorite childhood memory is of her mother and grandmother using Baobab fruit, hibiscus, tamarind, moringa, tiger nuts, and ginger to make refreshing, invigorating, and nutritious beverages for her and her siblings. Nafy and her mother continued the tradition after her passing, and when her family moved to the U.S., I wanted to bring the flavors of my childhood with me and the nutrition, flavor, and good vibes the Baobab, hibiscus, tamarind, moringa, and ginger gave me as a child, said Nafy. So in 2016, she founded Teranga, a beverage and food company whose mission is to create refreshing and healthy drinks and snacks handcrafted in small batches using Baobab fruit and other unique ingredients from around the world. So with that, here she is so she can tell us more about her Teranga drinks and snacks. And I'm so excited to have you here with me today, Nafy.
Yeah, same here.
Hola.
I'm so excited. Hola, hola, everyone.
So can you tell us a little bit more about Teranga and your business?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so as you said, you did actually a very good introduction. I don't know if there's anything else to add, but yeah, I started Teranga back in 2016, and it's a food and beverage company. So what we do is we make delicious juices using local ingredients that we find here in California or the United States, and also we import local ingredients that I grew up with or that are also native to Africa. And when we bring those, we mix them together and come up with really simple, nutritious, and healthy flavors. For our consumers. And then for the snacks, it's also the same thing. We use local ingredients here and then native ingredients we find in Africa or some other places in Asia or in Arabia. And then we mix those ingredients together and then come up with really simple, healthy, delicious and flavorful snacks that people can enjoy on the go, people can enjoy with families, people can enjoy really pretty much anywhere they are. Like doing a podcast right now, you can enjoy one right now. you know.
That's good. So when I was learning more about you, I was fascinated by something called the Baobab tree. I might have mispronounced it, but it's
No, you
something
did well.
from.
No, you said it.
Okay,
You said it well.
right.
You said it very well.
Okay. All right. So, and I understand that you use that in some of your juices and snacks. So, can you tell? And I was so surprised by the nutritional information I learned about this tree. So, can you share more about that tree with our listeners?
Yeah, I mean, I really grew up with the baobab tree as a kid. But
Okay.
the baobab fruit tree grows in sub-Saharan Africa, and that's where you find it, sub-Saharan Africa all the way down to Madagascar, and it also grows in West Australia. So those are the places that you will find baobab trees. And in Senegal, it's everywhere in Senegal, in all the different regions. There are some regions where it's more dominant and you have more trees than others. But growing up as a young girl, I used to go visit my grandmother and my grandfather, and in the villages, it's like everywhere. A lot of villages were actually built around baobab trees because it's a tree that calls out for community, calls out for just warm and people together and happiness. Just looking at the tree, the way it is built or the way it looks, it's just very fascinating. Like you said earlier, it attracts people, and so growing up as a kid, I always found myself being next to one or sitting next to one, and so the other thing that also influenced me with the baobab is that also it has a fruit that's extremely nutritious. That's what I use in a lot of my snacks, a lot of my juices, as well as some of the hot foods that I make as well. To go back a little bit more, baobab is also very um, part of the Senegalese culture. Baobab is part of the emblem for the government, for like you get stamps from the government in Senegal.
Right.
Everything has baobab stamps, or yeah. So it's part of the way of life, the culture of everything. It's very sacred, and also baobab has been found that it was used long time ago, even before the colonization, to for burials. It used to be used to bury kings and queens and things like that. Uh, um, so the reason why I'm kind of connected to baobab is because like I was saying earlier, the nutrition of the fruit that it has, which is a superfood. It's been said that baobab is the queen of all the superfoods. It's prebiotic. It's high in fiber. It has vitamins. It has nutrients like potassium, potassium, magnesium. I mean, it's just the superfood you want to associate or you want to be using on a daily basis on your diet, pretty much. Yeah.
Now, I also thought I read that it's also known as the tree of life.
Yes, absolutely. It's also called a tree of life just because not only the way it looks, and it's also called the upside down tree because when you look at the tree, it looks like the roots on the roots are on the top, So there's a lot of stories, a lot of tales that have been said about God being mad at the baobab tree, and deroded it and then put it upside down. So there's a lot of beautiful stories growing up as a kid that my grandmother or my grandfather used to tell me about it. And those were always very fascinating to me when I was little.
Phil, thank you so much for sharing all that information with our listeners. It's fascinating. And like I said, I had never heard of this tree. I think I've seen pictures of it, but I didn't know what it was
Yes.
called. And I absolutely did not know that it had fruit. Um,
A lot of times actually, when they show it, when you go online right now and you Google it, you say the baobab tree, you always only see a bare tree. So people never really thought that it has flowers. It's beautiful beige flowers that comes out before actually the fruit comes in, and it's beautiful. If you Google baobab flowers, you will see that, and it has leaves, but it's rarely you see a tree with the leaves usually when they show it as well. And the leaves are as delicious as kale, as delicious as spinach. They're full of iron, full of nutrients.
that's fantastic. Okay, so I have to ask you, how did you go from being a marketing director to starting a food business? How did that happen?
Yeah, that's pretty different. Well, the reason why that switch happened is because back in 2009, my son was born, and when he was born very early. He was born preemie, and I found myself having to take care of him a little bit more than I thought I would have to. So he needed a speech, occupational, and physical therapy. And so after I finished my maternity leave, they were still needed for me to stay home to take care of him. And because I was not able to get that extra time from the job I had, I found myself having to quit to decide what to do. Do I stay with the company I was working for, or do I find someone to take care of him? He was 4 pounds 10 ounces. He was really, really too small for me to leave him behind with someone to take care of him. So I started really to think through what are the different ways that I could really take care of my family, and also keep doing what I've loved to do for this long. And there was nothing else I was able to find, because at that same time my mom was diagnosed with early dementia. So having to take care of my mother and my son, there was really no job that you could find that will allow you to take some time off in the middle of the week to take them to their appointments, or to take them to physical therapy, speech or occupational therapy. So it was very difficult and challenging. So I had to really make that decision to stop working. And when I stopped working, I started looking into different ways I can support my family. And one of the ways was to go back to food that I always loved to do, always loved to cook, and always got a lot of compliments from friends and family. So that was just how it happened.
That is a beautiful story. It's a heartfelt story and sounds like you had a lot of hard decisions you had to make,
Yeah.
but it's so beautiful that you chose a path that would allow you to care for your loved ones,
Hmm. Yeah.
as well as go to something else that you also loved and kind of sounds like you had left behind.
Mm. You know,
So how did you
yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, I was just saying that when I started looking into the different ways, actually, the one person that really encouraged me and told me that you could really do it was my actually mother, because I always felt like I had to work for somebody to be able to support myself and support my family. But my mother told me that you don't have to work for other people. You can work for yourself to be able to support yourself. And the definition we have of the American dream for me has always been that working for other people, doing things for the people and make money is a better way to live the American dream. But with my mother's advice, I found that it's not really always the case. You can do something you love and still be able to live the American dream.
What great advice she gave you.
Yes, she did.
Yes, really wise. How lovely. So tell me this, how did you then so you're at home, you've decided you're gonna go into food. How did you come up with the name Teranga? And what does that mean?
Teranga. Teranga is a Senegalese word. It's from the Senegalese language Wolof, which is Senegal's native language. That's one of the main language that you speak. Senegal was colonized by the French, so Wolof is the national language, and French
Okay.
is the official language. So Wolof, the word Teranga comes from that, and that's what 90% or maybe 80% of the population in Senegal speak. And so it means hospitality, camaraderie, friendship. It When I was looking for a name, I just was like, there is no other better name, since I'm trying to bring what I know, what I have, what I grew up with from childhood until now here in the United States. There's no better way for me to introduce it to the American population using the word teranga, because that word by itself already mean that. I know you speak Spanish because pura vida is a way of life,
Right.
right? So pura vida and teranga, they are very similar, you know, in, 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 in ways that people describe it. It's a way of life. It's the way that you treat people, the way you welcome people to your home. I mean, in Senegal, when you go to someone's home, they will not give you a newspaper during lunchtime if you get there at lunchtime. They'll have you sit down with them and eat, then drink. And usually the first thing they'll give you is a juice, or if you happen to be there right there at lunchtime, they'll have you sit down with everybody and eat. And so just looking at all those, points that the name means, and then what it's its involvement and its influence in Senegalese culture from years and years and years ago, I just thought that there is no other better name than Teranga.
What a lovely story. And I love that you equate it to the same thing as pura vida.
Yeah,
So that's
I know,
fantastic.
because
I didn't know that.
I speak Spanish a little bit. My Spanish is muy
Yeah.
malo, pero when I first heard of the name Pura Vida, I mean, one of my products is called Pura Vida. Actually, I don't know if you've seen that.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, the original flavor, which has nothing mixed in it. It's pure. It's just the real baobab fruit. When you drink it, that's what it is. I call it the pura vida because I really felt that connection between the word of pura vida and the word of teranga. So that's why usually when I wanted to explain to people what teranga means, um, I use that analogy and then I use that comparison of the two words so people can understand me a little bit more. So it's a very powerful and strong word. Any Senegalese person that you talk to know the word teranga, and anybody who comes to you and say teranga, you know that they've been to Senegal.
That's absolutely a beautiful story. Okay, so now tell me this. So I saw on your website, it looks like we can buy your juices and products from your website, but you're also in stores. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about more about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a website which is not super fancy. It's pretty much like an informational website, and then a shop that people can purchase some of the products. Right now, the energy bars are really very popular. They are super popular right now because it's just very packed with nutrients. And then I also have the powder that I sell also in there. The juices right now I also sell them, but the only issue that I've been having is shipping it outside of California because of being super heavy. I use glass. I don't use plastic.
So it's very interesting, and thank you for sharing about so much about the Teranga juice in your bars. And it sounds like it's something I need to try because it sounds pretty amazing.
And you know what the thing is about my product, all teranga products, you don't have to only use them for what it says it is. Like the juices, you can add them to your smoothies, you can add them to your cereal, you can add them to your yogurts, you can add them to your when you're making like savory food. I always use the happiness blend, which is the one that has tamarind in it. I always use it, and then when I saute vegetables, I add it to it because tamarind is a spice and it's also kind of sweet, sour, and tangy. So it adds really a good flavor and taste and more nutritious to whatever you are making. The energy bars, I always tell people you can use it regularly, just like energy bars when you are biking or you are hiking somewhere. But at home or anywhere else, you can chop them in tiny little pieces and put them into your salad. It adds more body, more taste, and more flavor to the salad you're going to be eating. Or you can add them also as a topping when you are eating ice cream, or you can top them
Oh,
also. Yeah, you can also add them to your granola, cereal and things like that. So I always, and then the powder, you can sprinkle it in anything and everything. You can even use the baobab powder for face mask. It's used for beauty.
oh
Yeah,
my
because it's full of
goodness.
antioxidants and things like that. So yeah, so you don't just have to use them for what the juice it says juice or it says energy bars or it's just the powder. You can really add them into a lot of different things. It can be incorporated in your daily life, beauty, or in your nutrition balance of whatever you're eating and whatever you want to add more taste to it because they are pretty tasty. They are really, really nutritious and very tasty.
Okay, so we've been talking about they're on your website, but you can also get them in a variety of stores that I
Yes.
know are also listed on your website in
Mm-hmm.
San Francisco,
Mm-hmm.
where you're in
Mm-hmm.
the San Francisco area.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay, like I said, I'm going to have to try them because you've given me so many ideas, and I'm always looking for good sources of potassium and magnesium
Yep.
specifically.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
all right. So I want to ask you because you mentioned this early on in our discussion, but it sounds like you grew up cooking with your grandmother and your mom. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. I started cooking at a very early age, 7, 8 years, between 7 and 8 years old. Yep. And I was very, very influenced by women. I lived with women in the household, my mom, my grandmother, and aunts.
I love that. See, you were growing up in a completely different part of the country, and I was doing the same thing with my
You
mother
know,
and
yeah,
my
I read that part of your bio. I was very impressed. I'm like, hey, Diana and I are similar.
yes, very similar. And I love that, you know, like yourself, my mother has had really influenced me as far as my cooking and what I love to do and what love to eat. So I love meeting others who are also influenced by their grandmothers and mothers and aunts, and it's lovely. It's really a connection that I think in some ways is being lost in our culture.
Hmm,
Um,
hmm, hmm. I
and
mean,
I'm really trying to
nowadays,
do my best to encourage people to come together to, cook together because it's such a
yeah,
great
it
experience.
is. It is because nowadays, like, a lot of the people that I talk to, like the youngsters that when I talk to, when I go and do um, talks at different locations, I ask them, how did you learn to cook, or where did you learn to cook? And they always say, oh, I online. I just, when I want to cook something, I just Google it online, and the recipe is right there. And then I just go and buy the ingredients and I make it. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's really sad. What happened to, you know, a family, like, people getting influenced by physically have people in your home and you sit down and they teach you certain things. It's we've lost that part of humanity that we've had. Food has become so impersonal and industrialized. You don't even have to go to a restaurant, sit down and eat. You can just order online and things like that. So, but it's very sad that people nowadays don't didn't are not experiencing or didn't experience what we you and I experienced when we were little as kids.
I agree, but maybe we can help them just experience it a little bit and bring
Yes,
it back
yes,
just a little.
exactly.
That's my hope anyway,
Yeah.
because it just brought me so much joy. It's just one of my best memories of my childhood
Yeah,
is definitely.
absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Every time I think about it, I'm just like remembering, like some of the images are coming back in front of my eyes right now, where I'm remembering sitting down next to my grandmother and she was making these millet balls so she can make this cereal for us for breakfast in the morning. I'm remembering them right now, and it's just like great moments, great times that I had with her. It was really fun.
That's lovely. Okay. Now, you have been on an entrepreneurial ride. You have a food company. I'm sure you're extremely busy. What has been some of the biggest surprises since you started your business?
Being part of a cookbook, it's really fun. I'm part of this cookbook that La Cocina published last year, and my kids, when the book came out and they saw the book and they saw my picture in there, they said, "Mom, you are famous. You are a star now." I'm like, "No," but that was really very good. It was on the talks. They say it's going to come out, it's going to come out, until you see it right in front of your eyes. It's always hard sometimes to believe certain things. But the minute I hold that book and I saw myself and saw my recipes in there, I felt really good. And then I felt like this is here to stay. There's nothing that that we could do. It has been published in a book. It's everywhere in the internet, and so this is something that I always wanted to do, to share a part of me, a part of my culture with the whole world. And so this book just does that. And it's not only about me, my story. It's also about another 40 plus other women who have similar stories that I've had, in relation to cooking, how food was influenced their life, how they live the American dream using food, and or something that they love to do. And so it was really just a great feeling to have.
Well, congratulations. And the name of the book is La Cocina. Can our listeners get that on Amazon?
Oh yeah, they can buy the book anywhere books are sold.
Okay, fantastic. And Cocina is spelled Cocina.
Yeah, so La
So,
Cocina, yeah, A Pursuit of the American Dream. That's the subtitle.
okay, that's fantastic. Yeah, I'd heard about the book. I have not gotten my copy yet, but I'd heard about it and I'm familiar with who they are, and I just think what they've been doing for quite some time
Yeah,
is just a beautiful contribution to our culture
yes,
and
absolutely.
blending our cultures and helping us understand each other a little bit more through food and through these amazing recipes. It's just fabulous.
Yeah, and the other thing I wanted to add is just like the book is not your typical cookbook, just so your listeners know that it's not just a regular book that has a list of all the recipes of different meals from different places around the world. It does have recipes from all around the world, but it's the recipes that are tied to a person with their stories, how that recipe came to be, how the recipe influenced their life, where that recipe comes from in this world. So each recipe is a storytelling. Each page in that book is a storytelling of the person who's talking about it. So it's something that you can sit down with friends and family and have a discussion about it. It's not just like list of recipes that you just go and then list out the ingredients and you're done. No, no, it's more than just a cookbook.
That's wonderful. And that's what we were talking about earlier. I think it's that connection that we can make with each other when we actually know each other's stories and a little bit more of how a recipe developed or
Hmm.
how they grew up.
Yep, exactly.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely.
All right, so we have just a few more minutes left, and I wanted to ask you because, like with any business, I'm sure you've had some challenges. And can you share with our listeners some of your biggest challenges that you might have faced?
One big challenge has been, I guess, it's almost everybody that starts a business in a small business. It's trying to get funding. You know, when you are a small business and you're trying to get money either through the traditional way, which is going through the banks or going through CDFIs and things like that, it's just really been hard because you don't have a track record of
Mhm.
showing, that actually you're going to be able to pay back this loan, and also they have no other ways to have a guarantee that if the business doesn't work, how can you pay them back? So it's just been very difficult. And also being an immigrant, when you are an immigrant, you know it's um,
Mhm.
it's also very difficult for organizations to trust that you're going to be able to
Right.
also make it. So it's been really a rough time. I've been using my own money, friends and family, since I started the business in 2016. I haven't received or gotten any loans since then. And I've been just juggling whatever the money makes, whatever the business makes. I recycle it back to the business, and then if I need extra to buy supplies or this and that, you just go back to friends and family. So it's been challenging, not only for me but for a lot of other friends that I know that are also in the food business as well.
I appreciate you, Nafy, being so transparent with us and sharing that because it is challenging. Definitely, I hear that from other business owners as well. That's just the financial piece of it and making it all work. But I got to give you just congratulate you for having the courage to persevere and keep going.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
really.
believe that we have Teranga has really good products, so that's what's keeping me. Because every
Mhm.
time I see people try them and then see their eyes, their face lighten up and say how beautiful, how delicious, how great that is, it just gives me courage to keep going.
That's fantastic. And I think anything worth having or experiencing, and especially owning your own business, it takes work. It
Yep.
takes really hard work,
Hmm.
So none of us are going to just show up and everything's going to be great. It just doesn't work like that.
No,
So,
no, you just have to wake up. It's just like, how I always tell people. I always, growing up in Senegal as a kid, I always thought that, it's so easy to live in the United States just because the way that, the media, the movies you watch, soap operas and all that stuff, how they show you the way of life here, they make it so easy, and you're like, life is so easy in there. But once you come in, if you don't have that willpower, you cannot make it. You have to have that willpower to be able to get to where you want to go.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. So we're out of time. I'm going to be ordering some of your products because like I said, I'm so curious. I'm like, I didn't know it was a fruit. I didn't know it had all these great nutrients in it. So I definitely want to try it out. And I wish you so much success in your perseverance, in your cooking, in your new business, and just continue to shine and continue to cook and to spread the word about your culture. And it sounds like your amazing product. So thank you for being our guest today, Nafy. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I just wanted to add one last piece, which is that La Cocina is opening a municipal market, which is one of the only and first municipal market that's going to be led by women. And I'm going to be one of the businesses in there, and it's going to open in the spring. So if people are in the Bay Area in San Francisco, it's going to be at 101 Hyde. They'll be able to actually try the Senegalese food that we have right there and then, the food and the juices and everything.
Congratulations. That is outstanding.
Yeah.
I'm thrilled.
Mhm. Yeah.
And maybe one of the times I get back up to San Francisco, I can check it out. That
Yes,
is fantastic.
absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun talking to you, and then sharing my story. It was really fun. Thank you so much, Diana, for inviting me.
You're welcome. And it was really delightful for me to learn your story. So thank you. I want to thank all our listeners for tuning in to our podcast. Please subscribe and leave us a review. We'd love to hear from you. Remember to add the most important ingredient to every recipe you make, your love. And as my mama always said to me as we said our goodbyes, que Dios te bendiga. May God bless you. Thank you for tuning in to Molly Mama Cooking with Love.